Hello, I'm Vada,
And I'm Roxy.
and you were listening to VCR. Hello, Roxy, how are you?
Hi. I'm okay.
You're okay? Uh, I'm okay too, but you know what? Being okay is pretty damn good compared to what we saw.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, what we saw was pretty scary and out there, to be honest with you. And what we're talking about today on the show, the Netflix documentary Lover, Stalker, Killer, and oh my god, it was in that order. So
Yeah.
it was in that order, and it was a horrible result. I was,
Crazy.
wow, I was just like floored at.
I was, yeah, I was just,
Hmm.
well, I was out of my, what was it? I was blown away. That's
Yeah,
all I
I
can
mean,
say.
it was just insane what was happening in there.
But I will say that I figured it out like in the first 10 minutes. I was like, oh, I already know.
Even the fire, you figured out the fire too before it fired.
Man,
No,
before
that
the fire, actually, when the fire happened, I was like, oh, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
See, the fire, as soon as I heard the fire, I was like, oh my God, this woman's serious.
She's
Like,
crazy.
oh my God. But let's get into it. So, Lover, Stalker, Killer is a documentary about, honestly, I know a lot of people give men shit on dating sites, right? I felt so bad for this man because
Dude.
he didn't do anything wrong. He just okay, long story short, got married, thought he met the love of his life, and she thought that she met the love of, and they ended up having to get a divorce because
Yeah,
he
they
was
had a family, had kids, all that stuff, and then got divorced.
yes, he was working days, she's working nights. They just ended up growing apart, got divorced. Well, he ends up moving, or they, and I think the mom and the kids moved back home to a different city, like small town, little place. And then
Hmm.
he ended up moving there too because he wanted to be closer to his family. And then he decides, I'm lonely, I'm single. Let's see what we can do.
What up?
Yeah, so he gets on to that tragically wonderful site for hookups, Poof, POF,
POS.
plenty of fish, and it should be more like plenty of
Nightmare.
psychos. But when he gets on that, he meets this woman. I think they both agreed that this is just a for funsies type of thing,
Right. He explained that
nothing.
he didn't want anything serious, and she
Yeah,
was like, okay.
yeah, and she was with it, and then that was it. Then they kind of she started to become a little bit more aggressive in the things that she wanted, and I mean seriously aggressive.
Um,
She starts stalking him, and then sending him photos and text messages of "I see what you're doing" and "I see who
well,
you're
okay,
talking
so
to."
like I think he said a couple days after he told her like he didn't want, I don't know if it was like the next day or like a couple days later that he didn't want anything. That's when that other girl came into the shop.
Mm,
That's when
yes, I
Carrie
forgot about the
shows
other
up.
girl. Yeah.
Carrie shows up and he's like, oh, like he thought she was pretty. He fixed her car,
Hmm.
whatever, left it at that. And then I think a little while later, he saw that same girl on the dating site.
Hmm.
And so they started talking and hanging out. And then old girl, first girl, what's her name? Um,
Goyle.
Liz. Liz.
Liz Goya or Goyle. I can't pronounce the last name.
Golier,
Uh,
Golier, I think it is.
Goyer, yeah. Liz Goyer.
She, I guess, is stalking him already at this
Hmm.
point. So she sees that he's gone out on a date, or that, yeah, that he was hanging out with this chick, and they went back to his apartment. And what did he say? He said, we didn't even get our jackets off, and she was buzzing the doorbell.
Hmm.
Like she left something inside. Like, girl. That's when I was
Yep.
like, oh, this girl is crazy.
Hmm. And then it gets really freakishly out of control from there.
Mhm.
Because then him and Carrie, who's the second woman that he's met, who he fixed her
Mhm.
car, they kind of stop seeing each other.
No, 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 no.
Or or was it that she just vanished?
No, she left. She left the apartment so Liz could go inside and get whatever she left in there. And
Hmm.
then when she left, he called Carrie and she was like, well, I'm already halfway there. I'm already halfway home. Why don't you just come over to my place?
Hmm.
And then they start hanging out more.
Right. But at some point she vanishes, right?
I think it was a couple weeks. Like she was staying the night at his house,
Mm-hmm.
and then as she
And
kind of just disappears from his house. Or she
yeah,
said that she wanted to, well, who knows? But the text that he received was, "We should move in together," and he was like, hold
mm-hmm.
on, it's only been 2 weeks."
And then he pumped the brakes on that, and then that ended that. So, but here's where the freaky thing is, because that's important. How Carrie and the guy end up kind of separating, quote unquote, is important to the story because Liz is all kinds of crazy and is keying cars, taking photos, saying, I see you, I see who you're talking to. It becomes a problem with his job type of thing. It gets worse and worse. So at some point, because he's also very concerned about the safety of his family,
Right.
he makes a very, and I feel for guys who have to make this decision. I know it sounds like just like a cop out, but it really is a difficult decision. He decides to move to go somewhere
Right.
else because if he's not in that town with his family,
And
then this
Carrie can like,
psychopath, can't hurt, you
right.
know, can't hurt them. So and that's the thing. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. He's getting all these text messages from Carrie saying how she's gonna, fuck up his world and everything,
Yeah, I'm
right?
gonna destroy your world for
Hmm.
destroying mine. Like I'm gonna
Yes,
ruin you.
I'm going to do all this and that. Now,
Mhm.
so he moves and it dies out for a little bit. But then the issue is Carrie starts messaging him and saying like, I see your family,
Oh,
your kids are in the
no, she
park.
starts messaging the baby mama.
Yeah, she does that too. Oh, that's right, she does.
She's messaging the
So
baby
she's
mama.
messaging the baby mama saying, I see you, your son's on the swing, your daughter's, playing on the slide. And then the baby mama, of course, has to call him and he's reporting it to the police and everything. And it gets worse. He ends up, his own dad, this guy's dad, buys him a gun because
Hmm.
it's getting ridiculous. So, and the gun is kind of important too, because he puts the gun in his closet in a certain way. And then one day he comes back and he notices that the case is upright instead of the way that he put it. And then the gun is gone. And so he's, in touch with the police officers and everything. Like it seems like everyone's in touch with the police. And it actually seems like this isn't one of those cases where, oh, the police didn't do anything. This is
No.
actually something where the police were involved with it, trying to do something, but the issue is they could never find her. And they
Yeah.
even went to Carrie's mom. Now, this was kind of interesting and a weird kind of fly in the ointment here where they went to Carrie's mom, and Carrie's mom said that she hadn't heard from her. They kind of had an estranged relationship after receiving some text messages, and that Carrie was depressed and on
She,
antidepressants and other
yeah. They said she was
drugs.
like bipolar.
Yes, and that the her mom was raising Carrie's son.
Hmm.
And so that was kind of important to this too, because then after a while, Carrie's just gone and sending her text messages like,
Yeah.
mean
She's
text
messaging her
messages.
on Facebook. Like, I'm not missing. I just don't want to come home right now. Like, I love you.
Yeah.
Stop looking for me, or, you
Shit
know,
like that. Yeah. So it becomes, this
even sent her a happy Mother's Day text.
yeah. Yeah. It gets very, very strange. And so Carrie's doing these things, and then Carrie is now focusing on the family of this guy. And there was okay, now help me out with this because you're better at the timeline than I am. There was another woman he was kind of seeing for a little bit, and this Carrie set her house on fire.
No, that was Liz. That was
Oh,
Liz's
that
house.
was Liz's
Yeah,
house.
because
Okay.
remember, Carrie was texting Liz too and was like, "Leave him alone, you whore." She broke into Liz's
Yes.
house and like wrote on the wall,
Hmm.
"whore." And that's when she keyed her car. She keyed
Hmm.
Liz's car.
And then ends up setting the house on fire.
Yeah, and then she ends up setting the house on fire because she was sending him pictures from the inside, and she was like, "Oh, I wonder if anyone's home." And then she was like, "I set that whore's house on fire."
Yep. And then
And he was like,
killed her pets too.
"Yes, killed
Yeah,
her
it killed her
pets. I
pets.
can't believe that part."
Like, I think her children weren't there, but like some of the pets were there and it ends up killing
Mhm.
the pets and the police get involved, the fire department, all this other stuff. They
Mhm.
found, clearly was set intentionally. But then the police start catching on to something. They caught on to something kind of interesting. And this is where I got confused a little bit later. So I'm not going to spoil too much, but there was one piece of evidence, like the main piece of evidence they had kind of was like, I don't understand this, but Roxy, I'm sure we'll figure it out for me. But anyway, getting back to the main point, fire happens, and like the guy's a nice guy and lets Liz move in with him for a little while, right? And
Yeah.
all this stuff is happening. Now, I can't
And
remember.
they actually rekindled their relationship and started dating again, him and
Yeah.
Liz.
hmm
Yeah.
And then something happened. Now, I don't know why they moved out, if they had
I think
rekindled.
that's when actually the threats had been happening with the car and stuff, and I think that's when she moved in with him. And then after the fire, I think is when he was like, "All right, maybe we need to break up." And then I think that's when he moved.
Yeah, something like that.
I think it was
So,
after the fire is when he
Mhm.
moved.
Yeah, and then like I said, got progressively worse because she was targeting the family, and so
Mhm.
Carrie is doing all these horrible things. Well, then the cops catch on to something, and after visiting the mom for like two or three times, and then I think one of the police officers had come up with the idea. Well, what if it's not Carrie? What if it's just someone pretending to be Carrie? And then that's what it was. They got their tech person involved with it, and he starts running these algorithms and
VPN
cutting out
number.
information using an IP address. And they isolated one particular IP address, and this is what blew my mind. It was the IP address to one of their own police officers.
I was like, "Oh, no
I was
way."
like, the fuck? I was like, so it's a police officer doing all this. And then I was like, that is insane. But then they get a warrant, they check out his house and they start questioning him. Ends up that it wasn't him. It was this woman that he was his girlfriend,
Off and
who
on again.
off
On
and
and
on
on.
again
Mhm.
girlfriend who had his access to his stuff and would live there on occasion. It was her. And here's the fun thing about that. Can we all guess who that girlfriend may have been?
Can we
It
guess?
wasn't Carrie. You would think it was Carrie because
Yeah.
Carrie is doing all this horrible fucked up
Yeah,
shit.
she's being a horrible person.
It was not Carrie. Who was it, Roxy?
It was freaking Liz.
It was Liz. Liz was doing all this. Liz was the girlfriend. Liz was sending the threats and everything. And then the police were like, okay, they got creative with it and they trapped her because, they kept saying, well, Carrie and the wife, or like, I think they were trying to, um, Liz was under the impression that they were going to arrest the wife for some reason.
Oh,
Or
that's when she shot herself.
Yes. So Liz, who's pretending to be Carrie, this is the big secret. She's pretending to be Carrie. No one knows where Carrie is. So she fucking goes out and she shoots herself in the leg with.
And then calls 911.
And I was like, oh my God, what the fuck? This woman is
Like,
really.
you really gotta be messed up in the freaking head.
Yes, and if you're
Like,
not catching the timeline, let me help you. This woman sets her own house on fire, kills her own pets in the fire, goes out to a field and shoots her own damn self in the leg. I was like, the fuck is
and
happening?
then she tries to frame the baby mama. She
Mm-hmm.
was the
Mm-hmm.
baby mama. She's like, oh, it was her. She tried to shoot me. Da, 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 da. Or she did shoot me. She tried to kill me.
Yes, and the police know that this isn't true. So they are now suspecting, okay, Liz is acting as Carrie, but we kind of need more evidence. And so they start setting her up to be like, we kind of need more evidence. We need more like facts and details, like maybe, like because at this point, Liz is also trying to blame the baby mama for Carrie's
Mhm.
vanishing and kidnapping. That's not a murder yet, but eventually it will be because what they do is they get a hold of Liz's car. They couldn't find anything. They took the seat apart, and in the foam area of the cushion, they found blood.
Right.
And so they know that, you know, Carrie has to be dead. You don't have this kind of blood in here,
Hmm.
and she's still alive type of
Right.
situation. So eventually what happens is they make connections. And Liz is kind of hanging herself here
She
because
really
she's,
is. She got really defensive in
oh
that
my God,
interrogation
yeah.
room, like really
She
defensive.
was super mad, super angry. Like,
So mad. Like, how dare you ask me these questions?
yes, and was like, why aren't you arresting her? I'm over here, but like, almost seems like she's getting punished. Like I'm being punished, and she's getting to walk free, and she shot me, and this and that. That's what it was. That she had shot her. She was super angry, and the cops are just like baiting her with, well, if we had more details and more evidence, we could probably make this happen faster, but we can't. And then, sure enough, then automatically Liz would come up with these emails by Carrie about this, this, and this, and how she did this, this, and this, and that's what was happening. Ends up that it was Liz the entire time, and
Crazy.
talk about insane. Now, here's the thing: what happened to Carrie? Long story short, more than likely dead. Here's a weird thing: no body.
Yeah,
They
they haven't
convicted her
found.
without a body, but they convicted her with a photo of her foot, which was really weird. So, but that's what confused me. Now, Roxy, maybe you
Well,
had a better understanding.
I thought they found her body because she told them where it was at.
No, she got
No?
convicted
Oh no,
without
they
the
only showed
body
her a picture of the
of the foot with
tattoo
the
on her foot.
tattoo.
That's right.
But the
That's right.
thing is,
I was getting another documentary mixed up.
right. So what's happening is the officer starts investigating it, and then he's really curious about the veins in her foot. They look a certain way, and so he was using the book Gray's Anatomy, and it was determined that the veins are like this because she was dead already. So
Hmm.
all they did is convicted her from the photo from of her foot with these particular veins and this tattoo. But here's the weird thing is how they got that photo. I didn't understand. They were talking to the guy, and he's like, do you have any technology from this time or blah 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 that like a device or something we can look at during this time period? And so the guy went to storage and he found like some old tablet, and he gave it to them, and they took the tablet apart and they took the SD card out of it, and that's where they found these photos. But
Yeah.
here's my thing. Was that his tablet? Because it
No,
made
it
it
was
seem like
hers.
okay, it was hers. Because he said, "Yeah, I went to storage and I found my old tablet," and I could have sworn he said it was my tablet. I guess maybe she no,
It probably was his, and she
Mhm.
probably used it all the time because I
Yeah,
have a lot of selfies of her.
yeah, because there is photos, all these photos on there, little thumbnail photos, and that's what it was that convicted her. And I was
Hmm.
like, "Oh my God!" Like
And they found
psychopath.
a picture of Carrie's car in her phone.
Yes.
And that's how, and then when they went to look at Carrie, when they pulled Carrie's car again to search it, they found something in, I think, the cup holder that had a thumbprint on it,
And it
and it
was her
matched up
thumbprint. Yeah.
with hers.
Yep. Yep. It was just, it was seriously small details, like one
Yeah.
thumbprint. One thumbprint and a photo got her convicted, along with a blood stain in the back of the other car. But the thing
Mm-hmm.
is, still no body from my understanding. And I
Yeah,
was like, that just floored me. Like they convicted her without a body.
that's crazy.
And that was just
That whole
absolutely insane.
story is insane. Like,
Yes,
what?
ridiculously insane.
Like you set your whole house on fire. You
Killed
killed your
killed
animals.
animals that you supposedly love. You killed them.
Right. Over this dude, like,
Hmm.
girl, come on, get it together. I know the dating pool is polluted, but I mean, there's still a little bit of hope, I think.
Yeah, maybe, but you know what? This
But
is one
that's
of those.
crazy. Like,
This is one of those things where, like, you hear about the precautions, you hear about the warnings, you hear about these are the things that you should do, and it really didn't sound like he had done anything wrong. It sounded like he
hmm,
did a lot of things right, and this still happened.
yeah,
And I
like,
was like, oh my
geez,
God,
this
talk
poor
about
guy.
just
Like all
don't
he wanted
date.
to do was have some company and like get
Yeah.
laid. And
And,
this whole string of events happened because this chick is crazy.
and my whole theory on this is like, it just sounds like people should not be dating, period. Like, no more, no, because like that was scary. And like, I have to say, and we've done episodes of this. Me and Roxy have both dealt with stalkers. It is
Mhm.
no fun going through it.
No, it's not. It's
It's a
terrifying.
nightmare.
I
But
can't, that's what I was like, I can't even imagine if the stuff that I have gone through
Mhm.
escalated to this. Like, what the
Yes,
hell?
like setting houses on fire, keying cars, shooting your damn self, or shooting at you, like that is threatening your family and sending
Mhm.
photos. I mean,
Like,
that's
what is
insane.
processing in your brain? Like, what's happening up there?
Not all the
Like
right
when like,
things.
you know what this really reminded me of? Do you remember that old movie from the 90s, A Thin Line Between Love and Hate?
Yes. Mhm.
This very much reminded me of that.
Yeah.
It was like, holy shit. Insane.
Insane.
Like you you hurt yourself. Like you self-inflicted pain
Hmm.
to get this man to give you attention.
Yep.
Girl, come on.
Hmm.
Like that's just wild to me. That's
It's psychopath. It's just psychopath. And it's like, wow, you killed someone to try to get with
yeah.
someone who doesn't want to be with you. You've set houses on fire,
Like
you've destroyed property, like, oh my God. You're threatening people, and to imagine this guy's had to move twice. You
like
know,
what in her brain made her think that he was gonna fall in love with her after all of this shit? Like,
hmm
but what's crazy though is when they did rekindle, I was like, ah, you fell for it. You
yeah.
fell for it, you dummy. You
But
fell
see,
right
the
into
thing
the
is,
trap.
we didn't know, and he didn't know she was a psychopath at the
I
time.
knew.
That's the thing. That's the
I
thing.
knew.
You knew, but
I figured it out immediately. I was like, as soon as she showed up to get something from his apartment, I was like, oh, this bitch did it. I already
Mhm.
know.
So
I
yeah,
was like, yep, it's her. It's her.
it was absolutely insane,
It
completely
is just
insane.
mind-boggling the stuff that this woman did. I mean, think about the planning, the meticulous planning of all this shit.
Yeah.
Like, how long did she think she would be able to do this and get away with it?
Well, the thing is, okay, what blows my mind is she did it for so long and got away
Years,
with it.
years. She
You
got
you
away with this for
you
years.
have to think that is some really methodical planning
Yeah.
and some real psycho next level thinking to have done it for that. I mean, hell, even Hannibal Lecter gets caught at some point.
Oh my God. When he moves to that new city and he's like, oh, I'm lonely. Let me try this dating stuff again. And he gets back on POF like a fucking idiot. And then he meets this girl and then he's waiting for her to show up and boom, it's Liz.
Yeah.
Like, dang.
Talk
Like,
about
dude,
like
she played
how
him
you
like a fiddle. She
yeah.
already knew the type of girl he liked, so it was easy to create an account. She knew exactly what to say that would pique his interest.
She
Like,
tailored that account to him
man.
because it ended up attracting. And I'm like, boom, that was like,
Hmm.
oh my god.
Like clockwork. She
And
knew.
and again, he's not doing it wrong. He's meeting this person in a public place,
Hmm.
not like, oh, immediately come over to my house. Like, no, it's a public place. They're meeting there. Everything's just going wrong.
And
But
like
it's
he ends up what?
horrible.
He waited there for hours before she finally called and was like, "It's me."
Yeah. And now I'm going to kill you. Yeah, but that
Yeah.
type of thing.
Oh my God. That was crazy to me. I was like, what?
Yeah.
It was funny though. I was like, it's not her, it's Liz. I already
Mhm.
knew. I was like, this
I
girl's
didn't. I was kind of like, well, see, what I was thinking at that point is that he was going on a date and
Mhm.
that Carrie, because we still think it's Carrie, had killed the date. That's what I was
Oh
like.
shit.
I was thinking, like,
Yeah,
how
yeah,
good is
yeah.
she that she murdered this person online? And I was like, oh my God, like,
I
that's
knew
really
it.
insane. But, that was what
I
I was
knew it
like,
was well, I knew it was Carrie.
Carrie.
I was like, that's not her, it's Carrie. It's
Carrie catfishing,
it's
yeah.
Liz.
And then see that what that does is like she just can follow him wherever, he's going back
Yeah, that
home. Now she knows where he
imagine.
lives and everything
Imagine sitting
else.
there waiting for
Yeah.
this date and that you think is coming, and then you get a text that says it's your psycho stalker.
Hmm.
Like just imagine that that feeling of helplessness and feeling like you're never gonna escape this person.
Yeah,
Like, oh my
absolutely.
God, that is the worst feeling. It's terrifying.
And that's why Texas is super unique and special because you can carry the thing that will resolve that problem as long as it's concealed.
Right.
So that's like, oh my God, that's just it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. It made me rethink all this stuff, because again, he didn't do anything wrong. He did it all
Nope.
right. And
Nope.
and it's one of those things where like normally we would leave you with some type of like advice for something like this. Really can't because
Yeah.
he did everything right. He followed the procedure. He worked with the police. The police worked with him and
Yep.
it was a shit show like I have never seen. But
But
even
they
the
went through like two sets of investigators or three sets of
yes, in
investigators.
two different cities,
Hmm.
and the tripped out thing is even the police, every single one of them said, "I have never experienced a case like this
Yeah.
before in my life,"
It
and
was
I was
like
like,
twists and turns and like
"Oh my
kinds of,
God,
I was like, what? It's just
mind-boggling,
wild.
insane." But all I can say is this: like, if you are going out there in the dating scene, men or women, and you're doing online again, still, always follow safety protocols. Do not meet someone in private or in a shady area. Go to a public place, be at a restaurant, have either your car ready to go in case you don't want them
Right.
or do like what we did back in the 80s and the 90s, have your distress call ready to go. Like, if I was, let's say I was on a date and it's not going well, and Roxy remembers, hey, I need you to call me at 7:20 and say, pretend you're an emergency, to get me
Like,
out of the
how's it
date
going?
if
Do we
something
need an
was,
emergency?
yeah, do you need an emergency call? And like, yes, I need an emergency call. Oh my God, your plants have died. I gotta go. My plants have died. It's an emergency. So
Oh
sorry.
no,
Thank
I gotta
you.
go walk my goldfish.
Yes, my my hamster died. I have to go.
My hamster.
So shit like that, you had a distress call for moments like so have that plan. Always let someone I know sometimes people are a little embarrassed about internet dating. Let someone know where you're at.
Oh,
Hey,
always.
you know, Roxy's going to go on a date and she, texts me, "Hey, I'm going to be at this restaurant at this time. I'll text you, in an hour or so." You
If I
know,
ever get in their cars, I take pictures of their license plates.
Yeah, take pictures of the license
And I
plate,
send
send a
them.
description of the car, send a description of the guy or the girl, like hell, send the photo because
Always
there's a
vet
photo.
your people.
Yes.
So Google them.
Hmm.
Google, look for records.
Yeah. Yeah, and do things like that, and then let your friends know because, or like
Drop
a
your pin.
trusted friend, you know,
Drop your
who,
pins.
yes, because you need that. You
Your
absolutely need
locations.
that. It's going to be important. And that's kind of like the best advice I can give you because this poor guy, I'm sure he didn't have
And
like emergency contacts, like call me at this time.
but this is
But
yeah, like the crazy thing with him though, like everything was going well.
yeah, yeah,
It's
it
so
was
weird. Like he was, everything was going well. There was no reason to put out a distress signal.
exactly. So
Like she played him like a fiddle.
she did a good job. All I can say is like if you ever have a inkling of a red flag or something's not right, and you or maybe you just have a bad feeling about the person that you're with that night, because sometimes you can sit across from somebody and be like, yeah, no, there's something wrong here,
Something's off, right?
feel free to end that date. If you just want to go ahead and go through dinner and be like, hey, got a long day tomorrow, whatever, do that because that's
Right.
much safer than, and if you don't want them to walk you to the car, don't let them walk you to the car. As a gentleman, like if I'm ever on that type of situation, I always say, hey, please let me walk you to your car so I make sure you get off safely. But if they, had ever said, no, I'm okay, then I won't do it because
Right.
you don't know. Or maybe they felt like weird with me type of situation.
Hmm.
So just don't do that. But if you feel unsafe, make sure you. Oh, what is that thing that bars are doing now? Like if they're feeling unsafe,
Oh,
like they
like
ask
an
for
angel shot or
an
something.
angel shot. Remember that. If you need to be like, hey, I'm gonna go grab a drink real quick, and then go to the bar and be like, hey, I need an angel shot. And guys, don't be scared. I mean, you may be a guy, there's a stereotype, but if she's holding a gun or something in her purse and like, I need an angel shot like fucking now.
No.
Don't be scared to have to do that,
Yeah.
because your life is important. And the hell with stereotypes or gender roles. You need to do what you gotta do to live. Guys, women, whatever. Your life is important.
I mean,
So
guys go through it too, man.
yeah. And I don't know about you, Roxy. Do you carry like a self-defense thing with you if you're out and about? Yeah.
Oh, yes.
See, yeah. Awesome
Oh, yeah.
sauce. Awesome
Yep.
sauce.
I have my mace, I have my taser, I have my little stabby thing, and
Mm-hmm.
I have Pearl.
Ah. See, I just need the stabby thing. I'm pretty damn good. So I
Pearl is
I
my other stabby thing.
yeah. I know how to use my stab. And I keep it in my front pocket because that's the easiest access. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's always good to have something. You need to have something. But again, use caution. Poor guy did it right. And look,
Yeah.
he
Just be
his life
careful.
is his life
Look,
is a
pay attention
disaster.
to all the red flags, okay? Because they're not they're not leading you to fun times.
Mm-mm.
It's definitely a circus, but not a fun one.
Yeah, not a fun circus at all. But let's say maybe you really like that series, or maybe there's a better one you want to let us know about.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely do that. And you can email us to thevcrshow@gmail.com or hit up our social medias, Insta and Twitter, or the X, whatever they call it now, at the VCR Show. Check out our website, thevcrshow.com. Check out our YouTube at, guess what, the VCR Show.
Guess what else?
you know, and which I haven't told this to Roxy yet, so I'm telling everyone now. I actually created some content so I can put up on the site. So
Ooh.
I'm trying to see what happens there, but within a week I'll put up this fresh new content. And but check that out. And always, if you want to take Roxy out on a date and maybe be like, hey, I'm gonna follow you home.
No
Is that
thanks.
okay with you?
No,
I was
thank
thinking
you.
about
Yes.
shooting myself in the leg and setting my house on fire so I
Okay,
could
no,
move
no,
in
thank
with
you.
you. You can maybe make that offer to her at her
You can
social
make it
media.
pass. No.
Hard pass, she says. But, hey, doesn't hurt to try, right?
Right.
You can hit up her social medias at
On Facebook at Roxy Perez Curvy Model, on Instagram at PopRox428, and on TikTok at ThePoproxx. And Poprox is spelled Poproxx.
yes, another fun time there. Check out all of her content. She has amazing content. And stay safe, people. That's all I can say.
Yes,
Stay safe.
stay safe.
We love our listeners. Be
Stay
safe.
single if you must.
Yes, sometimes being alone also
It's not
means
that
being
bad.
alive. Alone
Yeah.
means alive sometimes. So, keep that in the back of your head. But
Yep.
until next time, I'm Vada.
And I'm Roxy.
And you've been listening to VCR.
Bye.
Bye-bye. You have been listening to VCR, creative content by Richard Christopher Vada and Roxy Perez. Logo by Richard Christopher Vada with assistance from Annie Ramirez. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach us at thevcrshow@gmail.com or our social medias at Instagram and Twitter at The VCR Show. And you can also check out our content at thevcrshow.com. The show song is Addict by Nefex, instrumental, and you can find them on YouTube Music Library. Need some sweet treats for your next big event? Or maybe you just have a sweet tooth? Check out Skippity Cakes. That's Skippity Cakes, SKIPPITYCAKES.com. Check them out for all of your sweet treat needs, things such as cakes, cupcakes, and cake pops. Also, check them out for their varieties of face masks, t-shirts, and coffee mugs. Say hi to our friend Rosie for